You're listening to MicrasCast, the podcast about all things Micras.
Well, that's really nerdy.
Nerdy or not, here we go. This is MicrasCast with your host, Ed. Intellectual, stimulating conversation.
Hello. This is MicrasCast. I am your host, Ed, also known as Ed Carrillo. This is the very first episode of MicrasCast. This is exciting. This is awesome. Yay! So I'm excited to start this project and see where it goes. Thank you for listening. I'm still not exactly sure how often I will be releasing episodes yet. We'll see how things go based on how these first few episodes go. This podcast is going to be dealing with everything about the world of Micras. So that means its countries, the politics, the wars, the sports, the culture. I mean, you name it, we're going to deal with it. We're going to talk about it on this podcast. For now, the program is going to be relaxed, very chill. My aim here is to basically just facilitate fun conversations and see if we can add some value to everyone and the hobby as a whole. This first episode, I gathered a group of people that participate in Micras to talk a little bit about what it is. There were lots of tangents and conversations about a lot of things around the topic, of course, but we talked about using the terms micronation versus interactive geofiction. We talked about what Micras is, how people participating in the program would describe it to someone that didn't know about it. And we talked a little bit about the things that are going on in the micronations of the people that were participating in the call. We did this interview over Skype, and in the future, I'm hoping to use Zencaster, which records everyone locally and then puts them on their own audio track, which is very nifty, very cool. So I will be making improvements as I go along to improve the quality and the content of the episodes. I also welcome suggestions. So before we start the interview, I really do want to make sure that everyone knows that's listening that they are welcome to come on the show. Everyone that participates in Micras is welcome. People that don't participate on Micras and are curious are welcome. This is an open call to anybody that wants to be part of these conversations, to interviews, or, if you have any ideas. I'd like to at some point get into having audio plays. I think we can run wild with possibilities and things that we can do in the podcast, but I want to open it to everyone. If you like what you hear in this episode and want to be part of future episodes, let me know. Get a hold of me on Discord, on the forums. I also created a special MicrasCast channel in my Discord server, the Discord server where I host Alduria, Ransonar, and the Wechua Nation. So talk to me. Get a hold of me if you want to come on. You're welcome to come into my Discord server and talk to me in the MicrasCast channel that I created there. We can coordinate things there. Everyone is welcome to join. So with that said, let's start the show.
All right, so we are live in MicrasCast. I'm going to introduce our august panel of micronationalists. We have the man of Crates himself, the Crate God, Craitman. Hello.
Hello.
We also have the one and only Malliki. Welcome.
Yo, listen up.
Listen up. We also have the wonderful Halian.
Good morning, everyone.
And we also have Dr. Rick.
Hi.
And last but certainly not least, the one and only Kaiseress of Shiroth, Miss Salome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, y'all. Really great to have you.
For half of you.
Oh, yeah, fair point.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So just to start, I was aiming to have this episode be about what is Micras? If someone were to find us and not be weirded out by us being such huge nerds, if they were interested, like, what would we want them to know? I'm not going to try to corral the conversation, but we can start there and just have fun, see where it goes. So go ahead.
What I've always used as my executive summary is, it's a forum role-playing community where the setting is a fictional world and the players are its power brokers.
Power brokers. I like that.
That sounds a lot more mature than what it actually is.
I have to agree.
That's how you hook them in.
I constantly watch Craitman do a very good job of the people that, the poor souls that wander into our Discord server. So Craitman, what would you say as Administrator General of the Micronational Cartography Society, the people that manage the map? What would you say?
Yeah, it is quite a weird thing to sort of put into words, really, because we've all got such different backgrounds and different interests. So it's hard to just explain in one go, really, isn't it? Yeah, I think Hull did quite a good job there of explaining the background of Micras, and at least the political side of it. But once you get into the role playing and the simulations and the sport and the elections and culture and pretend TV series, it's there's a lot to unravel, isn't there?
It's real easy to make deep cuts.
Deep cuts for real. So, Dr. Rick, what would you say?
Yeah, where do you even begin? So there is this planet, and your country, which is only in your head, can actually get some land, fake land, on a fake planet, and that's it. So you just create your land and your country and do whatever you want with it, and you can interact. Your country can then interact with its neighbors or other countries, and you can create your own history and backstory and whatever, really.
On that regard, I want to take a quick poll of the people here. Do you prefer still using the term micronations or interactive geofiction?
Does
You might
anyone
want to
use
do a
that
round
term?
there.
Say again, Mike?
Ed, you might want to do a round there, so you ask each person, so we don't talk over each other.
Oh, of course, yes. So I'll start with you, Mike.
Oh, thank you. I've been in this for way too long, 20 years, something like that. And I started when we all called it micronations because that's what they were from the beginning. Now I still use the term, but in the meaning of interactive geofiction, because that's what it is nowadays. With all the one-man nations and everything, it's not as much micronation as it was before. It's more the geofiction and the interactivity of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what I say.
Okay. Miss Salome, what do you think?
I don't think anybody uses the term interactive geofiction except Scott. The creator of the term and attempter of making our little hobby look a bit more adult and
pretentious.
And pretentious. I mean, that goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
I would probably call it micronations just because there's just a lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
Though, I would say micronations are a subset of world building. And world building is a much better and less pretentious way of referring to interactive geofiction.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Hal?
So I've been in this hobby for about 10 years, and just the same, I haven't seen the term interactive geofiction gain really any purchase here. No. But I am vaguely familiar with the term in other communities where it's focused on just the map building.
Oh, so it's just focused around the pixels rather than the rest of the development?
Yeah. Well, the one I saw used whatever software they used to make OpenStreetMap, so it's more the lines.
Oh, that's right.
But it went all the way down to individual roads and everything. But,
that's the dream.
Yeah, I'd say it's basically formed from the intersection of role-playing and world-building.
So, Mr. Craitman, what do you think?
Personally, I still call it micronations. That's what I go with. It tends to be because most of the people that we get joining, at least in the recent years, have been from the MicroWiki community, which are out and out micronations. Yeah, I think we've got such a history with like the successionist side of stuff, that as much as we don't want to admit it, that has sort of shaped pretty much the entire community. Most people who come in from it have that background. I've not seen a huge amount of people come from like Conwelding or geofiction communities and actually successfully integrate with what we do and stick around. So yeah, at least in terms of historical terms, micronation does fit a lot better, for me at least.
Okay, so Rick, what would you say between the use of the term micronations or the term interactive geofiction? I think everyone else very good points as to how pretentious, and I always forget that term comes from Scott.
I use neither. If someone asks what I'm doing when I'm on the plane, when I'm on the computer working with the wiki, I just say I'm playing with my countries. I'm playing with my countries, and that's what I'm doing.
Playing with my countries. That's good. My brother used to call it governing. I'm governing. Like, what?
I like them a lot more.
When my girlfriend, or when I talk about it to my girlfriend, I say, you know that weird nerdy hobby I have? And she goes, yeah. And I go, I'm doing that.
And then she dies a little inside.
Well, she sighs and she leaves.
Oh my God.
That might be an exaggeration there, but yeah.
So, like, to what extent do y'all's significant other, if you have one, know about this? Because my boyfriend is completely immersed in it. Like, he sometimes helps me grade and like oversee the elections to happen in Alduria. Like, he gives me ideas for things all the time.
Nice.
That's nice. I mean, she knows about it, but it's not like she's involved or anything. She might, out of some sort of affection for me, listen to my BS sometimes. And when I choose to torture her with it. But I mean, she's aware, but not like the only interest she might show is the fact that I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's about it. And basically no one else knows about it because I don't know how to describe it to someone who doesn't know what it is. Where do I start? What do I say? What do I like? You know, there's wikis that you can do stuff on. Yeah. Okay. Then you can, I mean, there's no easy way into that.
Yeah.
It's easy to sort of explain to people online than it is in person. Because you can sort of link them to stuff and show them. And it's the showing rather than the telling is that gets you into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Craitman, how much does Katie know about this?
Quite a fair bit. She actually did have a little project that she tried to keep going. Yeah, she's actually a member on the forum still. Obviously not that she signs in. But yeah, she did try and make a little country, but she couldn't really stick with it. But yeah, she knows quite a fair bit. She talks to me quite a bit about it. So yeah, she's not involved, but yeah, she knows.
What country was it?
I think she tried to make like an Irish sort of theme one. I think it was called like Aoenia or something like that. And
oh wow!
It only stuck around for a couple of weeks, and yeah, she just couldn't really get into it as much as we can. So yeah, she didn't keep it going, but yeah, she tried.
Nice.
That's kind of cool. So, Miss Salome, does Olivia know about any of this?
Oh, I had muted myself.
Oh, okay.
Far be it from the Kaiseress to betray state secrets.
Well, because I also do other stuff independently, so I think she just sort of lumps it all together. And it's probably when if she recognizes anything, she recognizes that I'm doing something with maps. I'm drawing my maps.
Drawing your maps. So like that's like the action. Oh, you're drawing your maps. Like my brother says, I'm governing.
Yeah. So I guess mine would be I'm drawing my maps.
If you ever have a micronationalist over your house, show them to the office or whatever and be like, this is the Kaiser's drawing room.
This is the IAC. No, but
just plunk down a folding table in the garage. Here's the IAC, y'all.
Yeah,
I actually do have a folding table too.
Nice.
It's like I'm almost an adult.
Oh, look at you. So, like, Rick, does your boyfriend know about this? Like, what do you tell him? Like, does he ask you, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, he's quite interested in the storylines of various schemings and plots and things, and I've been able to explain to him like the Norton timeline and the history of Shiroth and Elwyn and all of these things and how. And all that, and he seems interested in it as a form of storytelling, but he's not really interested in the whole participatory part of it?
I mean, I have always found that whenever I've had to like tell a significant other, or like when I was first telling my brother or like a friend of mine that like would see me on my computer all the time, I would always start by telling them the storylines and the intrigue, because that's what really reels people in. Like, oh, so this country doesn't like this other country, and this is why, and they're fighting over these pixels, and I think that's what really ends up drawing people in somehow, just because it's like, okay, so these people are fighting over pixels. Okay.
You've always been a very good recruiter. I'll have to give you that.
Yes.
I mean, I've tried, because like one of the reasons why I started organizing Alexandria back in the day as more of a government simulation, I think it inadvertently led to us being pretty like just like maybe isolated for a while from the like greater hobby. But it was because I would participate in these simulations of U.S. government, UK, whatever, and I would always try to reel some of those people in, because like, okay, if you're already doing this in a real country, like you're not that far off. Come on in. Come on in.
That's very similar to how Antica started and why Antica died out, because it never had the ability to really expand beyond government simulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it went from people who were involved in Junior Statesmen of America, which is a very pretentious sounding name, and Model Congress.
Yes.
And those are its routes of initial recruitment. And then we did our own thing with the Republic, and it was all very exciting. And then it sort of petered out because there wasn't really all that much beyond it, because culture hadn't been developed, and there was almost like a cynical realism about it. Like, we are literally just people fully acknowledging that we are squabbling over pixels on a map.
Yeah.
This culture stuff is beneath us.
I mean,
but unfortunately that kills it out. When you've done all of the government simulation you can, you're dead. And that's why I'm probably the only one from that initial group that's still around. Like, every now and then our Yesker comes around, but that's because when he got involved, he was also doing more world building type stuff, and he got roped in mostly because he knew somebody who came in through the Model Congress route.
Okay.
And
I mean, I wasn't in Antica too, but not from the start. But your description sounds like 100% Siberia.
Oh, yeah. I remember watching Siberia from afar when I first joined the hobby around like 2002. And just being fascinated by the characters. Like, you guys at the time were drafting some incredible legislation, and like the debates and the drama with the elections. I was like, oh my gosh, this is epic. Me, like 14-year-old me, thinking it was like the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, but Siberia was also set up to fail miserably because we had some people that were like, the laws, when you write the laws, you don't integrate the laws from real world countries in that, which they did.
Yeah.
So it was like setting up to fail, and then just not knowing what to do when we had an election. Fine, what now to do? Because we weren't into the like fake culture or the culture building or the nation building. We had provinces, but what do they do? It's just us people.
Yeah.
I think literally the pinnacle of Antican culture, at least from my experience, was the Minecraft server.
And the Antican round table.
Oh yeah, and the round tables, that's right.
Yeah.
The round table, that was awesome. So like Salome shared with me a couple of episodes and like a couple of clips, and
I have them all.
It's just, I love listening back to some of that stuff.
Yeah,
because
you should upload them all.
No.
Yeah, like
because it was must hear radio across the planet.
I actually have the entire catalog of all of the stuff that was made, including all of KZFO. I have it all.
I wish I could say the same of my stuff. Oh well.
I'm just the kind of person who refuses to delete anything. I would rather reorganize than delete.
Same, but I usually end up losing chunks of it anyway.
Well, I'm terrified that I'll lose something.
Oh, that's why you follow the 3-2-1 rule and you put all your stuff in the cloud.
Actually,
extra copy of it, rather.
I don't. It's risky. I have a network hard drive, but it's rated. So if one of the drives fails, I can just slip in another one, and then it'll live forever. My own shame.
Yeah.
I think the pinnacle of the Antican culture was right around the revolution, because we embraced the culture of revolution, and then so it had this peak, this early peak, and then for the rest of the time that it was around, it petered out just because of there was nothing else to do, and so there were attempts to reinvigorate and re-revolutionize, and that was all it.
But doesn't that sound like every micronation ever? At least before our activity is going down. We need to recruit citizens. We need to do this change to attract people. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean, Alexandria always went into such a cycle of electioneering, and like Rick can attest to this because he was there for like almost all of it. It was always just like people, well, unless there was a very controversial measure in Parliament where everyone would just like go at each other and like throw the kitchen sink at each other in the debates. It would be like just the election would be a frenzy of activity, and then once the election was over and everyone had their seat assignments, like things would kind of die down, and it became such a drama-based activity cycle.
I lived for the drama. I lived for it. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was like the elections that we would have in Alexandria were epic.
Yeah.
They really were. Like I had a hard time grading sometimes because I'm like, I wish I could make everyone just have like, just have these majorities, but like obviously you can't. Yeah. And people would really tailor their messages based on like the little bit of culture that we had developed, and those were some really good times.
Yeah, I wonder if it would have gone any different if Alexandrian cephalogy was such that coalition governments were the order of the day.
I mean, I think that it's gotten towards the end, it was getting to be that point because the Liberal Alliance and the UMD and the Socialists were always like trading spots in coalitions towards the end. And like, you're starting to see that now in Alduria too, although the current guy is trying to massage himself into a minority government. I'm like, honey, I don't think that's going to work.
That is you and Canadian.
He's trying to pull the Stephen Harper.
Yeah.
So, but I know that Craitman tends to have some pretty exciting elections too. There was one of the elections where I worked with Craitman to have a Roger Stone-like figure from Alexandria come to Craitland to help, like, which party was it, Craitman? It was was it National Liberal or was it Agrarian Liberal? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like the agrarian type party. It's called the Liberal Centre Alliance.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to actually integrate some sort of Scandinavian culture in there with having them as an agrarian party. But yeah, that's who he came and helped. And yeah, I think they won their first election with him helping out there. So yeah. I
just remember that we tried using the most unflattering pictures of him, like the one where he looks like Mr. Peanut.
Yes,
when he has the and the monocle. He basically looks like Mr. Peanut.
Brilliant.
Who apparently before the pandemic, sorry, I'm supposed to reference the current state of affairs. But I think that like Mr. Peanut died, and now they have Baby Peanut.
It was for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And the Super Bowl commercial, he died and was reborn.
A decade ago in January.
Before the world shut down.
Yes.
So, like a meme I read, now the week only has 3 days, yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Oh, God. Everything just feels like Groundhog Day these days. Like, sometimes I honestly don't know what day of the week it is. I honestly sometimes just don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I want to go through again and see if y'all can give me some little interesting tidbit of like things that are going on right now, like current events in your micronation right now. I'm going to start with Dr. Rick. Dr. Rick, so you're involved with Elwyn.
Yes.
You're involved with there's so many other places. Like
Well,
list through.
Let's just look at Elwyn. So right now we're having a bunch of elections going on. So we created a new autonomous republic for the Amacolians. So is it the Amacolians? And it's brewing up a lot of tension among the Babkhis. And then we're going to elect a delegation for the Rasbur Pact Parliamentary Assembly and had some elections for the new Congress in this mid part of Elwyn called the Congressional Counties. So the what's her name? Princess of Elwyn, Helena Strand, she's trying to gain popularity, but she can't be popular with all groups because they're often in opposition to one another. And so it'll be interesting to see how she navigates this new ethnic tension landscape. Who knows, maybe we'll turn up like Yugoslavia or like Chyros. Who knows?
And Malliki, I look a lot at Sanama. Am I pronouncing it correctly? I think that we had discussed this in an earlier call.
The stress is on the first, so it's Sanama.
Sanama.
Yes, not long vowels, just Sanama. What's the question?
Current events.
Just give me an overview of the current events, things that are going on right now.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to manage a huge backlog of elections, provincial elections. I'm doing my maps, of course, which I always do. You're going to do some stuff in Thanatos, I hope.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I will.
Because those guys there are douchebags. And then I have some writing to do about West Shimmer Spring that we annexed. And then, of course, there was just an election to the federal parliament or last year in 82 that needs to be fleshed out, maybe have some events, maybe some sort of economic downturn or something like that. I don't know. And then I have the UGB, of course, where I'm trying to finish the war with Kalgatia, which is a pain. Because I don't know anything about
the nations as well. You're trying to rule them as well.
Gonna annex that after the war is over. The inner Benasia is going to be annexed, hopefully, and Kalgatia should be some sort of, I don't know, protectorate maybe, depending on what's possible to do and what's agreed. So that's what I'm doing for the UGB. I'm not doing anything else there because I don't have the time.
Yeah. Well, and reading through that UGB article is just very dense writing.
Yeah, and then it's not so dense in the end because that's what I've been writing. I'm not the same type of writer as Artie is, so I think you can tell from the change in style there. But yeah, that's me.
All right. And so Halian, you don't have an actual micronation right now, right? You're just involved.
Not to call my own right now, no. I'm involved in Alduria, which is about to have a presidential election following up on that recent parliamentary one. And then Natopia has been pretty quiet, at least as public-facing things are concerned.
And do you have any plans to start up a project of your own anytime soon?
I'm thinking about it. There's always the temptation to bring back Hoenn or the Saphir Alliance. And then Joe Craitman and I are also toying with the idea of bringing back what would now be the Central Urin Republic. Yeah, on and off again, tin pot dictatorship micronation.
And I seem to remember that you had a South American themed nation in the works.
Yeah, or not South American, but the southern United States. It was going to be on the island where Ralgon now is, which honestly was just going to be a very transparent vehicle for countering the tide of association football scores with college football ones.
So, and Craitman, what's going on in Craitland right now?
Those aforementioned football scores.
Of course. What else?
Well, yeah, because you guys will talk about like the elections and the political side of it. My focus isn't hugely on that. We have one election simulated each year, actual Gregorian year, and that kind of does us. Whereas otherwise, I focus on the culture and the sport and fleshing that out. Given that I've got a bit more free time at the moment, I might try and do a few more articles on stuff that really should have articles for Craitland, like cities and regions and all the stuff which has been in my head for the past almost 18 years and hasn't actually been
what
put
a
on paper.
mood. When does old basketball season start?
We are currently just about starting of it. Yeah, sort of spring to autumn. So I might be able to do some of that actually
How
in
do you
real
pronounce
time.
that again?
All basketball is how it's meant to be
Old
pronounced. But
basketball.
yeah, I don't mind however you want to do it.
I seem to remember its wiki article at one point saying it could be called Orbis Ball, which is still an abomination unto Crate God.
Yes, yeah, it was a very poor anglicization when I first started creating it, and it stuck with it, unfortunately.
And for Miss Salome, what is so? You are Kaiseress of Shiroth. Are you involved? I mean, like, because I know that there's Shiroth. Is Kazan its own thing, or is it still part of what's left of Shiroth? Like, what are you up to?
Kazan.
Oh, like how?
Shazam.
I am so sorry, because like now you guys are like hearing how I pronounce things, and like I bet that some of it is just really funny.
Well, I always tend to pronounce it like Kazan, the city in Russia.
Ah,
But
okay.
Kazan with an
I would always say Kizan or Kizan, because I see the name and I think of Kezar Stadium in San Francisco where the 49ers used to play, off on that fictional world called Earth.
Oh yeah, I don't know that place.
I'm very removed from that.
Never been there.
So, I mean, the Imperial Republic of Shiroth is currently just like parts of Brookshire and the islands off the coast, and then oh no, I did not change how it's pronounced. Don't you even
Brookshire.
Brookshire. It's like part of Brookshire, and what are the islands called? I never did.
Yardistan, Amity, Miriath, and
Sathrati. Yes.
Which one are the Skyla Isles?
The tiny ones off the coast.
The ones that are little, like right off that little spit at the southern part of Shiroth. Now the southern part of Drakmodan. Halfway between Modan Hamlet and Miriath.
Okay. I am
anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Imperial Republic of Shiroth is very broken up in terms of its assets and is currently in the process of trying to avoid further collapse and people picking off bits, and has an ambition to conquer the mouth of the Elwyn River, which is going to be a bigger thing. Now I'm wondering how I'm going to do that.
Very carefully.
Very carefully, yeah. Mostly, I've been distracted these past 500 years by other events this spring, but I'd like to hope that we start that process soon, that campaign.
I'm thinking now, outside the Imperial family, the richest person in Shiroth is probably the owner of an airline.
Possibly. Just to connect everything together.
Yep.
That's about it. I mean, I haven't done anything with Kazan in a while just because it is so removed from everything else, and it's intentionally designed to be as much of a steady state as possible. So,
but if I can just get it confirmed from you, where are the Kaiseress's siblings staying? Are they in Kazan or in Shirekeep or somewhere else?
They've relocated to Shire.
Oh, poor people.
God. Shirekeep is such a dump.
They're in the good part of Shirekeep, which is the keep.
God knows so many of us have tried.
Better than what I was going to suggest, which is inside the Sartre tunnels.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't put anyone in those tunnels.
It reminds me, we need to finish the map of Shirekeep and
I have the vectorized version of that map that I was working on until my character was killed.
R.I.P.
Well, we need to fix it. We need to fix the keep so I can start imagining where things are in it. Because right now, I think the map is a few hundred years old.
Yes.
Too old.
I actually have the map of Raynor's Keep. Is that pronounced right?
Yeah, Raynor, right? That's how it is.
Keep. I
always said Raynor's Keep.
That's close enough. Anyway, I have the map of Raynor's Keep, and I haven't drawn everything, but I've put labels where I imagine buildings are. So if you want, I can send that to you.
Cool.
Yes, we need.
But then again, I haven't done that in a long time. So I'm sure that there's even more there.
So, like, what is the state of Shire Keep right now? Is it shittier than it's ever been?
Yeah. I like to think of it as like late stage Byzantine Empire, where Constantinople was mostly abandoned and most of the old like cityscape was used as farmland, and the only thing that they really maintained was the government center on one end and the walls on the other end, and everything else is just allowed to deteriorate. That's how I
Oh, so basically modern day Detroit. I mean, like, I've been there, I can say it. You know,
and the sporting arenas, fighting pits.
Lots of urban farming.
Yeah, lots of urban farming. Yeah,
that sounds like something else.
I was going to say either that or, again, Constantinople in 1918.
Oh, yeah.
War and the fall of the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah. Though definitely, I would say more like the fall of the Byzantine Empire, just because of the descent to which it was allowed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Malliki has washed away.
Yeah.
And is now a temple.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot that place was sinking into is it the white or red Elwyn in that branch?
One of them.
I think isn't it the blue Elwyn?
Oh,
correct. The blue one is the most west one, and the white one is the east one.
Yeah, and then the red one is after they merge.
Because Shiroth is colored red on the map, so that's how you know it's the red one.
So I guess we would call the little forks like the yellow, brown, and green Elwyn after the other colors on the flag.
Yeah.
The brown Elwyn, okay.
Isn't that after Shire Keep, though? The brown?
Wait, what?
Shouldn't it be brown after Shire Keep?
You're not wrong.
That's where the fecal trough goes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure the river is pretty much dead after Shire Keep and onwards to
That's why Elwyn's like really fertile. Yes.
Just toss in the bodies of everyone that died in the fighting pits.
Yeah, where else?
There's got to be good agricultural land south of it, just because of all of the organic material that's dumped into it.
Organic material.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a great euphemism. It's like I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine the kind of backwash that Ronsonar gets downriver.
Yeah.
Like Teldrin.
Volatile organic compounds.
Teldrin must be nasty AF.
Yeah, and imagine like Noiseren and Musica getting the absolute ass end of that shit.
That's an appropriate description.
I suppose that's why they purify the city once a year.
Yep.
Yeah. Or I think it actually spontaneously combusts.
It's the only way to stop
the
it.
swab gas.
Yeah, or the methane.
If they don't burn it every year, it becomes a chemical weapon.
That city will burn whether they intend it or not.
Musica, the Cleveland of Micras.
Oh, Lord.
That's fair.
The Cleveland of Micras. Who goes to Cleveland?
I know.
No one.
No one does.
Fictional, it doesn't exist.
What doesn't exist?
Cleveland, it's just a myth.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a place you tell your kids to frighten them about their future prospects.
Yeah.
Is there a joke that ISIS flew over Cleveland and said, "What happened here? Can we help?"
Having to go to Cleveland if I get in the Hall of Fame is why I never became a rock star.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I tell myself. Actually, we have the Baseball Hall of Fame really close to where I live on fictional Earth.
Yeah, in Cooperstown.
Yeah, not that anyone cares about baseball anymore.
No, not really.
Yeah.
I am no one.
I have been told on good authority that the reason why we're all in quarantine is not because of coronavirus. It is because the government is changing the batteries on the birds. The birds!
I actually got into it with someone the other day about whether or not birds exist. They've got full meme.
No, my youngest brother sends me bird memes all the time about how they're like government surveillance tools, that they are all spreading early 5G technology, and they have these antennas, and the birds are charging right now.
Once a century, you have to recharge your burb.
The burb.
My girlfriend works for Ericsson,
Mm-hmm.
and they're having problems with people torching their 5G masts and harassing the workers.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have a friend that I'm not sure for which of the cell phone companies he works, but he's like an actual engineer. Like, he goes to the towers and sets them up, designs them, directs the construction of new towers, et cetera, et cetera. And he posted the other day this really funny status on Facebook, and he goes, "Oh guys, I am so sorry. When I turned on the latest 5G towers, I put it on Corona setting, not everybody gay setting." I'm
seen
so
that
sorry,
one myself
you guys.
as well.
I think this might be a good end to the podcast for today, because
To episode
what's
1.
what's the biggest draw for micronationalism? It's that we want to live in a world that actually makes sense sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, what? Okay, so what made each one of you, and maybe we can close with with this. What made each one of you want to get involved in Micras? For me, for example, it was purely escapism, so I can relate to that 100%. Let's start with Miss Salome.
Oh, what first got me into it was world conquest. No.
Accurate.
I was already involved in world building and con worlds and con langing, and I countered a website put up by one of these micronations, and I thought, oh, that sounds like fun. Let's do that. And then it never ended.
20 years later.
Oh no.
So, Mr. Craitman, what about you? How did you find Micras? Because now you are the god, the overlord. You are the master of pix. Yeah, that should be your nickname, Mr. Micras, Lord of Pixels.
I was actually kind of part of the lovely scene.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, speak name not. Yeah, because I actually had Craitland going from about 2002. I started out as just my own little project that I had. I like my own hand-drawn maps and everything. And then once that series came out, I watched it and I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty similar to what I'm doing. I'll have a look on their website, and yeah, I found links to the MCS and Micras on there. I think it might have even been Guido might have put them up there, as he was at the time. Yeah, I think he might have been the person whose link it was I actually followed. And yeah, I just ended up getting involved in that because I was like, well, these people actually do something similar to what I want to do, and it'll put Craitland in a bigger frame of reference if there's actual neighbours, as opposed to just a little A4 map with sea around and nothing else. So that was my in there, was just finding something that was similar and looks good.
Oh, the early times, baby Craitman, so cute.
Still had a bit.
And now look at him, all grown up and leading the sector. So, Mike, how did you get into this wonderful world of Micras?
I wish I remembered. I got into Micronations 20 years ago, something like that, in Siberia, and then the Kingdom of Moravia.
Oh, that's a throwback.
Yeah, and then somehow, I don't remember how, I kind of slid into Shiroth. I think that was my first on Micras, I'm pretty sure it was my first. And then I was there for a long time, dabbling in other things. And why I joined, Yeah, why do we ever do anything? Let's say boredom. That's basically the thing I have. Why did I join Siberia? Because I was bored. It looked like it could be fun. Why did I join Shiroth? I was bored. It looked like it could be fun. So, yeah.
And Halian, how about you?
Oh, I too wish I could remember. But I do remember being in, we called it a Gov Sim. It was basically a one country micronational sector called, the game was called Mock Parliament, where the country we're on was Ostentia. Of course, Ed can attest to this because he was in it for a hot minute, like a month before I joined.
Yes.
And somehow from there I found Micronations, I think maybe with a brief stop at US Gov Sim in the middle.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And Dr. Rick is the one here that, like, when I joined in 2002, I was a sophomore in college. I'm a sophomore in high school, sorry. I don't want to age myself that quickly. And Rick was already a well-established fixture. I remember being in, was it Puritania? Like, that was like the first place that I joined.
That was the first place I joined too.
Like, I remember interacting with you. I remember, like, little baby Edgar thinking, oh, this Rick guy is powerful. I'm being so impressed.
Oh, that's sweet. I've never heard that before. Oh, bring tears to my eyes. I really don't know. I mean, it's such a long time ago. I mean, I was 13, 14. So I don't think what the question should be why I joined, but rather why have I stayed?
That applies to all.
And I'm trying to figure out a good answer to that. But then, I mean, I really don't know. But why?
My answer to that question is certain people, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
And that it's now at least still interesting for me. So
yeah.
Nothing in the world quite like
Other
it.
people have like gone away for a few months or years and then come back, but I've always been active, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not like all those people who go away forever and then come back a few months later.
Yeah.
I am hiding.
Months, days.
I've done that.
The door ever revolves.
Man.
You only know when somebody is truly leaving when they don't announce that they're leaving.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That way you know it's for real. When all of a sudden, like, they haven't logged into the forum or into Discord for a while, then all of a sudden you see that the account disappears from Discord. It's like, oh, like, this is for real.
What's the forum?
Oh, right.
In the time before time.
I'm sorry. I have dated myself. I'm talking about forums. Y'all know now I'm old as fuck.
Yeah.
Bulletin boards.
Oh my god!
I was just going to bring up what Rick said in text chat. Easy board. The original time, all the forums were on one site.
No. In the original times, we used the Yahoo mailing groups.
That's right. Yes.
The way Reunion still stays on the
I
map.
was going to say Reunion have actually just like gone back to that because they've changed the Yahoo groups to the mailing groups again.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think they're basically just a popular Portuguese discussion group now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, because I always forget that place is around. Except, like, and I don't remember until we have to, like, name the Straits of Haifa, and we're all looking for all the votes to make it happen. And then, like, we gotta track down these bitches. Like, hey, yo, wake up! Can you give us your opinion on this?
They've sat on their hands for so long, their fingers have merged with their ass.
Ed, you didn't say yo, listen up?
Oh, that's right. Yo, listen up. Well, I might just edit that in at the beginning.
A high priest wishes to tell you. Oh, no, I'm sorry. A high priest wishes to convey.
That's right. That's right. You are conveying a message. You are the vessel.
The only thing my high priestess conveys to me is kill me.
Plowing something else.
Oh my god.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidociously aforementioned. You'll listen up. Tits. That's trademark right there.
Yeah.
Or, to reference the supercalifragilisticexpialidiccheese.
That's what I was thinking about, yes.
Oh my gosh. Next time we'll do a reenactment of the coronation of King Noah. I volunteer to be the Greek chorus that's singing Plow My Vulva.
God.
Like, I'm in for that.
I would totally be down to do some radio plays.
I'm down
history.
too. Yeah, that would be
But
fun.
As I said earlier, episode 2 has to be the speaking geopolitical dictionary of Micras.
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 Yeah,
We'll go into that on the episode.
You know, the guy that I hired on the Fiverr to record the intro to this, so like Rick just typed Micras in the video. The guy was trying to confirm how to pronounce it with me, and he spells it out MY space CRUS. And at first I was like, what are you talking about? Because he just sent Micras with a question mark. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I sent him all these messages like, oh, I'm sorry if I misspelled something. And I sent everything again. And then he goes, no, I'm only asking for the pronunciation. I'm like,
see, it's not as obvious.
It really isn't.
If we do have that as episode 2, we should have acceptable pronunciation, unacceptable pronunciation, and list off all of the ways to say it wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna have we're gonna make a list of like the pronunciations that make everyone go shun.
And does it make us build a space railway just so we can run you out of here on a rail?
Everyone, that was our first episode right there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everyone that joined our Skype call. That was so much fun. I'm looking forward to recording the next episode. So if you are interested, if you liked what you heard and want to be part of it, get a hold of me. I have created a special channel in my Discord server, the one where I host Elduria, the Wechua Nation, and Ransonar. There's a special channel for it called MicrasCast. You're welcome to let me know there if you want to be on. So let me know. Everyone is welcome. Once again, that was MicrasCast. Thank you for listening.